The Somme, a memory, August the 18th, 1918. Tumultuous, tempestuous noise. Whistling, hissing, shrieking demons, hurtling impetuously on devil flights of hate towards their ultimate goal of death and destruction. Blasting and rendings, roaring and tearings, shouting and death sobs, stabbing flashes, burning flames, streaks of brilliant light. Black night spreads her mantle over all. Midnight. Crouched in the bottom of an old German artillery trench, a ration party of 6 men and a corporal wait, having just succeeded in getting the rations up to the firing line across the top before Jerry starts a bombardment, frequent in those windy days of 1918 summer. The trench was a forward one and appeared to have connected up former German gun positions, and in small recesses along its length were stacks of gas shells. Behind the trench, about 15 feet away across a country road, was a small wood containing more stacks of shells left behind by Jerry in his hurried retreat, and 1 or 2 battered guns. 1 a.m. The bombardment continues. Huddled together, we shout to each other what little we have to say, endeavouring to make ourselves heard above the never-ceasing clamour and roar. A louder crash than before, and flames burst out in the wood, licking round the trees and crackling in the undergrowth. 2 a.m. Flames leaping and roaring, scorching and burning, blasts of hot air from the inferno's mouth, soaring sparks and burning twigs floating in the night air. The wind fortunately blows to our rear, otherwise the trench would be untenable. And still noise, tumultuous and uproarious, leaping and crashing all around. 3 a.m. Thudding and trembling, quivering and quaking, Mother Earth receives the blows of the enemy guns, bursting in front of us, crashing behind us, shrieking above us, and still we're not hit. An earth-shaking roar and burst of flame, and a stack of gas shells along the trench spreads itself in all directions, the splinters thudding into the trench all around. Suddenly a roar, growing in less than a second to a blasting, crashing crescendo, a sea of flame. The world collapses in sudden deadly blackness and oblivion, and then peace. Noise, a smashed and battered trench under a night sky. I seem to be in a deep dugout with the crash of the barrage sounding above. Suddenly, full consciousness returns, and I heave and squirm myself free of the parados that has collapsed on me under a direct hit. My face is wet and bloody, and looking down I see my gas mask carrier is a deep red. The fingers of my left hand are likewise crimson and numbed. A look along the trench to see how my ration party has fared. At the end of the mound of earth which covers the spot where my 6 men were crouching, there is one dragging himself out of the dirt and nursing an arm, otherwise it is motionless. Blasting, crashing, tearing noise. We too scrape and dig at the earth with our hands, with the aid of 1 or 2 near us who had also felt the hit. In the terrible inferno of noise, one hit was hardly noticed along the trench. Besides, the fellows further along were fully occupied with similar experiences. We clear one khaki head and shoulders, smashed, and so along the rest. We too, the first and last, had been spared, hardly damaged. Going along the trench a little way, we find an old fire step covered by a bit of elephant iron, and there we sit, and with quivering fingers carefully light a cigarette, the shaded light of the match showing up ashen faces for one brief second. 4 a.m. Noise, booming and howling all around. A pale dim glow shows in the eastern sky. Thank God we breathe, for we hope when dawn shows, Jerry will ease up his strafe and give us a chance to get to the rear. Blood-soaked first field dressings over face and hand. Nerves torn and rended to shreds, our chances seem feeble. No communication trenches here. It's a case of over the top with the best of luck, round the wood and past a derelict tank which serves Jerry as an aiming mark, and a mile across country to a main road which is regularly strafed, and an advanced dressing station. 4:30 a.m. The pale light of dawn shows the charred and blackened remains of the wood, with fires still burning in patches. The remains of the trench show up more clearly, and one can stumble along without tripping over shells and comrades. Khaki figures squatted about, cigarettes stuck in mouth. The bombardment ceases as suddenly as it began. 1 minute the devils are leaping and dancing, shouting and howling, booming and banging, crashing and blasting, filling the air with a hideous pandemonium. A veritable colossus of noise, and then a pop, a gradually increasing whistle, a shriek and a bang, and a shell passes over our heads and bursts in the wood. A boom and a rumble, and the noise as of an express train passing through a tunnel, high in the air over our heads, and a shell from a heavy gun passes to its mark miles behind the line, and then the bombardment has ceased. Now looking along the line, we see isolated figures heave themselves out of the ground and start making their way across the top to the rear, hoping to make the journey before daylight fully appears. 2 of us decide that it is now or never, and climbing out of the trench, make our way round the wood and report the fate of the ration party to the support trench, and get permission to retire to the advanced dressing station, which eventually turns out to be the first stage of my second Blighty trip. The Somme, a memory, August the 18th, 1918.